Hey, it's Manny Garavito. Welcome to another episode of the Comedy Coach podcast. That's right, I'm back. I recently came across this idea. It was very fascinating to me. And I've always known about this, but when I went out for a walk today and it came to my mind, I thought to myself, well, actually, this would be a great episode for the podcast. Coming back to let you guys know about an important concept for your comedy career. Attention can be very important for us as comedians, but we also have to realize that attention can be a good or a bad thing. You can do something as a comedian that makes you go viral. And you've seen these people, okay? And more power to them. If they're happy with what they're doing, social media can make overnight stars in any industry. And when it happens to a comedian, it becomes the thing that they're known for in perpetuity. When you go on tour, you sell tickets or you sell merch, it's got to be the thing you went viral for. And you got to ride that pony out into the sunset. Now, being a human, life isn't as simple as just doing one thing over and over. So if you've got 1,000,000 people liking you for a certain thing you do, it's not always going to compare with having 100 people seeing not only that one thing you did, but all the other things you do after that. 1,000,000 people can make you famous, but 1,000 people can make you free. You can make a living doing different things, exploring different avenues, experimenting with your sense of humor. And so when this translates into creating content, I'd like for you to consider the kind of attention you're getting based on the content you create with your sense of humor. So keep in mind that not all attention can be a good thing for your career. Unless, of course, you want to go viral one time and then you got to ride it out. You then have to keep rolling the dice until you figure that thing out. If instead you understand how the good kind of attention works, which is the attention of those that support, that understand your sense of humor, that get it, and that appreciates novelty, new things, different things, a different perspective. This can benefit your comedy career in the long run because you don't have to chase the next hit of going viral or catching the next trend. Because, come on, like I said, living a human life, it's not as simple as just doing one thing over and over. What are you going to do when you're on your deathbed? You're just going to look at your timeline and be like, well, at least I did all those trends. Are you going to have flashbacks when you pass away of all the things you did online that got you views? Is that going to be your whole legacy? So keep that in mind. Attention isn't always a good thing, but it's very important for a comedy career. And if you want to be the kind of comedian that has full control of your career, you have to understand how to manufacture attention that is right for your comedy style and that you'll be happy doing in the long run, not just for short-term views. What brought this into perspective was I saw this documentary called Fake Famous. I think it's on HBO. It came out a few years ago. And it helped me understand that manufacturing attention is really easy. And all you have to do is build this persona or signal to people that you have a position in a certain hierarchy. It takes things like the exclusivity of things, your ability to take good photos or to be in certain environments or whatever. And people were basically pretending to be influencers, and they just got their numbers up, and then everybody that watched them become influencers also envy the fact that they're influencers because they wanted to be influencers. And so it kind of spirals out into this vicious cycle of looping content creation that isn't really them, but they have to maintain this for their audience that they've built over time. And as a comedian, we pride ourselves in being authentic and genuine and pushing the envelope. And so sometimes you can be a comedian that can have a bunch of followers, but if it's a gimmick, you're eventually going to come across your career and understand that, because that's what we do as comedians. We have a very critical lens at seeing the silliness in things, and you're eventually going to see it in yourself. And when you understand this, you make better decisions with the content you create because you want to be proud of the things you do, and you want to be able to share the laughs, not only what makes you laugh, but also find that sweet spot between what you find funny and what your audiences find funny. So not to say that getting 1,000,000 views can be a bad thing. If you're being authentic, genuine, and you like what you're doing, you getting millions and millions of views is a fantastic thing. But I know for a fact that there's people out there that just create content for the sake of, I know my audience is going to love this, but I don't feel right doing it. I'm tired of this. I don't want to be this anymore. So know the kind of attention that you manufacture online can benefit you in the short term, but most importantly, will it benefit you in the long term? And that's why I did this episode, to kind of point this thing out that I've been doing starting off Miami comedy. Is my niche is the city of Miami, but there have been so many trends here of cultural trends, financial trends, memes, housing. I mean, there was so many topics and trends over the years, and yeah, I tapped into them, of course, but I did it my way. And so, what I've discovered in my experience is, whenever I create, I want to make it so that the audience that I'm creating it for understands that even though it's easy to get the attention of my particular audience or niche by doing the same thing everyone else has done, if I did it differently, but doing it right in that sweet spot where not only is it familiar to them, but also novel or different at the same time, then we are both happy creating this. And you end up making content that makes you content. And when you look at your legacy and the work that you've done, you're happy that you didn't have to do or succumb to anything that you didn't want to do just for the sake of getting views. Here in Miami, some of the things that go viral here is car crashes. Like if your dash cam captures a car accident in the expressway, that people love seeing that stuff because we have such reckless drivers here. And so I'm not going to wreck my car for likes and views. You know, so yeah, keep that in mind, that attention is very important for a comedian, but it's not always a good thing if you're getting the bad kind of attention. You want to get the attention that supports and understands your creative process, and that you also are part of the audience that you create for. And with that being said, I want you to have this big takeaway, and that's understanding the value that you're creating and the exchange of value that you get by creating the value. So it's value for value, right? So if you create content that's valuable to you and someone else finds valuable, it's an equal exchange. Or if you create content that's not valuable to you and you're getting attention that's not valuable to you, it's not an exchange you should work for because it's unproductive. You're doing something controversial just to get a controversial reaction from an audience, for example. So you then have to cater to that attention in order for your comedy career to continue flourishing. And I'll give you an extreme example. Let's say, I'm not a political comedian at all, but let's say if you're a conservative and you do comedy showing that you are a conservative, and then 5, 10 years from now, a politician represents the conservative party, but you don't agree with the politician, but your audience does. And then now you have to create content as if you agree with that politician just to satisfy your conservative audience. Extreme example, but a good example of what I'm trying to get across here nonetheless. So when you create content for the sake of value, you're no longer chasing the numbers game. You're chasing the value exchange game, where you're satisfied with the things that you create in exchange for the satisfaction of your audience. You never sell out. You never do things you don't agree with or the things that you'd rather not do, even if it means losing an audience. Because when you play the value exchange game, losing an audience can actually be a good thing. And I'll tell you why. Not only is it good to outgrow certain segments of your audience, but also it's better for the algorithm. Because if you have 100,000 followers and only 20% of them interact with you, it looks better if you had 40,000 followers and 20,000, 50% interacted with you. Now, I can't look under the hood of social media algorithms, but that makes a lot of sense to me because you have people that are constantly engaging with your work rather than expecting you to do that one thing that they know you for. So when you play the value exchange game, you can sell more to an audience that supports you no matter what you're creating. And you can grow, and then your audience grows with you. And they love to see the stuff that you create as you continue to develop yourself, rather than getting the attention of an audience that wants you to stay the same in order for them to engage with you. You know what I'm saying? That's what I mean. So keep that in mind. Attention can be manufactured, but not all attention can be good. So be more hands on with the kind of content you create and the attention it gets as well, in order for your comedy career to be long lasting and that you would be proud of when you're on your deathbed scrolling through your timeline. All right, and with that being said, let's get into the AI emails. Subject: I think I've built the wrong version of myself. Hey, I've been doing stand up for about 3 years now, and something's been bothering me. About a year in, I had a clip go viral. It was a bit about a dating app. Kind of exaggerated, kind of dumb, but it hit. Ever since then, that's what people expect me to do. When I post anything else, it barely moves. When I go back to that style, it pops up again. At first, I was excited. It felt like I figured it out. But now, whenever I'm writing, I don't even know if I like what I'm writing anymore, or if I'm just feeding something that worked once. Last week, I tried new material at a show, more personal, slower, and it didn't bomb, but it didn't get me the same reaction either. After the set, someone came up and said, "You should stick to the dating stuff. That's your lane." That stuck with me more than I expected. How do you know if you're evolving or just drifting away from what people actually want from you? Chris. All right, well, Chris, look, man. You know how they say comedians got to treat their jokes like if it was a product and or service? What separates us from products and services is when you buy something, you expect the thing from that brand. When you buy cereal, you expect that cereal brand to create more cereal just like it. Or when you buy a bar of soap, you expect the bar of soap to do the things it's supposed to do. When you are a comedian, you can't take it to that extreme where you just do the same thing. You are someone that generates ideas, that lives a life, and that makes fun of stuff with your own perspective. If one thing hit, you then need to continue finding the next thing if it makes you satisfied. If novelty, changing, doing something different is your calling, then you must do that because that's what's going to make you happy in the long run. Unless, of course, if you're the dating app comedian, if you're happy being that, then no one can tell you otherwise. But what I can tell is that you don't want to be known as the dating app comedian. But I mean, come on, everybody's got a dating app joke. You got to at least have one in your act. God knows I have a good 30 minutes on it. But still, I don't want to be known as a dating app comedian either. So I think your best take here would be grateful that something hit, but just because the other things aren't hitting the same doesn't mean you should stop there, especially if it's not giving you the satisfaction you're looking for. Let's go to the next email. Small crowd, but it felt different. Hey, I had a weird experience recently, and I can't stop thinking about it. Most of my content online gets decent views. Nothing crazy, but consistent. I kind of had figured out what works, and I stick to it. But last weekend, I did a small live show, maybe 25 people. I tried some newer material I hadn't posted anywhere else. It was more honest, a little less. Punch every 5 seconds. The laughs were softer, but afterwards, a few people came up and talked to me for like 10, 15 minutes each. Not just good set, but actual conversations. One guy said something like, "That felt real." And I don't know why, but that stuck with me way more than any clip I've posted. Now I'm confused because online that version of me doesn't perform as well, at least not yet. Am I overthinking this, or is there actually something there worth paying attention to? Daniel. Well, Daniel, congratulations. You just realized that virtual life isn't real. Well, I mean, it's not real in the sense, or I will say it like this. Virtual life is different than real life. And when you do stuff online, you can move people. You can give them insights. You can make them feel a certain way, but you may not know it because you're not in front of their face while doing it. In this case, you said a joke on stage and somebody resonated with it so much that they had to tell you after the show, like, "Hey man, that was real. What you did there was awesome." Now, if this person were to have seen it online, he probably would have just enjoyed it and moved on, not even leave a comment saying that. But this person said it to you in your face. And then that helps you understand the kind of value that you bring. And that gives me an insight where get the value or the feedback of the value you create, not only online, but in person as well. And put those together to kind of get an idea of what kind of value you are creating. You're like, all right, these kinds of jokes, they get a lot of views on social media, but these kinds of jokes make the people walk up to me and tell me how real that moment felt because they went through it. And so, with that balance of getting the feedback with the value you're creating, you could probably get a better sense on the kind of joke writer that you are. Okay. Last email. When does it stop feeling like a game? Hey, I don't know if this is even a clear question, but I'll try. I've been leaning hard into content for the past year, posting consistently, studying trends, tweaking hooks, all of it. And it's working, at least on paper. My numbers are up, I'm getting more followers, more eyes, but the whole thing is starting to feel strange. The other day I caught myself rewriting a joke, not to make it funnier, but to make it more clippable. And it worked. The video did great. But later that night I realized I wouldn't even tell that version of the joke on stage. It made me wonder, at what point do you start building something that only exists for the algorithm? I don't think I'm burned out, but I do feel a little disconnected from why I started doing this in the first place. Is that just part of the process, or is that a sign I'm going in the wrong direction? Marcus. Well, Marcus, I think you just stumbled across what you are capable of doing as a comedy writer, where you can decipher between doing stuff on stage that works or doing stuff on stage that works for social media. So this is actually a great thing because it doesn't have to be a conflict, but rather something that you can use to your advantage. Where, all right, this bit is going to be for a clippable joke, and this bit is going to be for that realness of people that walk up to me after a show and say, that was awesome. So double down on this ability that you discovered. Don't let there be a conflict, and realize that this is the content game we're playing right now. And if you can balance these two things, it sounds like you'll live a very happy life doing stand-up comedy. So congratulations on figuring that part out in your comedy career. It's more of a skill than it is a problem, bro. Trust me. Okay? That is it for the Comedy Coach podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, send me an email. Or if you'd like to get this resolved in your comedy career, reach out to me, mannygaravito.com. Let me know if you're interested in comedy coaching. Thank you very much. I will see you on the next episode.